Hello everyone, a very happy Makar Sankranti and Pongal to all of you. Welcome back to the Analyst of Vajiram and Ravi, where we bring to you detailed discussion of important articles from Hindu and Indian Express. So today is 15th of January, and what are the important articles? Let's have a quick look. The straining India-Maldives relationship. This is especially in light of the recent orders made by the Maldivian president, who has called upon India to withdraw its troops entirely from Maldivian borders. In the second one, we will do the policy analysis of the recently launched Pradhan Mantri JANMAN Scheme, which is related with tribal empowerment, especially for empowering the particularly vulnerable tribal groups of India. Then, we know what happens when the air temperature drops in Delhi. The air quality drops further. In this regard, we will understand what causes air pollution, how do we calculate and measure the air pollution in Delhi, and what are the bodies responsible for implementing graded response action plan. Then we will read about the quantum computing as covered in the text and context section of the Hindu. So we will understand the basics therein, and we will wind up the discussion with World Economic Forum, whose meetings have recently started, and this is very important from UPSC prelims point of view. So let's start the discussion. So in the first topic, we are going to deal with India-Maldives bilateral relation, very much in news because of the ongoing tussle between the two nations. And recently this is in news because a glaring remark has been made by President of Maldives, Mohammad Muizzu, who has asked India to withdraw its troops completely from the island nation by giving a deadline. It's like giving a threat to the armed forces, to the country itself. So this is a big blow to the bilateral relation that India and Maldives, who were historically friends, have had. Now, to begin with the topic, let's first understand what is the scope and importance of the topic from UPSC point of view. Now, this topic particularly is not only important from mains point of view, but also from prelims point of view. Because by the way, UPSC has asked PYQs on India-Maldives in both prelims examination and mains examination. So, in light of that, we'll try to cover it very holistically, covering the prelims as well as mains dimension. To begin with, let's first understand the Maldivian geography. So, Maldives is an archipelagic nation. It is a group of islands comprising up to 1100 island nations, which are grouped into 26 atolls or coral reef islands. It shares a maritime boundary with India. So, you should also know that India appreciates the strategic significance of Maldives, and we have had historical ties with it because of the close proximity of India and Maldives. Now, let's understand the geographical standing of Maldives with reference to equator. So, equator line actually passes across the Maldives. So, if the statement appears in the prelims examination, you will deem to be it correct. So, equator passes through Maldives. Second, within it also passes a line 1.5 degree north of equator. Then what divides India and Maldives? This is a strait of 8 degree north of equator. So please be mindful that it is not the 10 degree north but the 8 degree north which separates India from Maldives. This is the geographical standing. Now, Maldives is also the smallest nation of Asia. Why? Because it has got total geographical area of only up to 300 square kilometers. India is also very important for Maldives and vice versa because we have had historical connect. We have had historical ties in multiple sectors. So, first of all, the very name Maldives comes from the Sanskrit word Maladweep, which stands for the garland of islands. So, because it is having some Sanskrit origin, it must be possible that it has got deep historical ties or ethnic ties with India. Second, we have had strong trade not right now only but also from the ancient and medieval time. It was Cheras and Cholas who also used to rule some territory of Maldives for a long period of time. So we have got very strong trade ties, historical trade ties with them. Second, we are also ethnically similar because many of the inhabitants that are currently living in Maldives have actually come from India and Sri Lanka back in 5th century AD. Then we have also got religion commonalities. Why? Because even Buddhism religion, when it started getting propagated down south, it not only influenced Sri Lanka but also Maldives. So we have got Buddhist influences in Maldives and also Hindu religion influences, and lastly it is Islamic dominated. It has got Islamic ethnicity. All of this has commonality from India as well. So therefore it is very important from India point of view. Maldives is very important for India and vice versa. Now, in order to understand what is going on in the current context, we have to understand the political history of Maldives first. This will also make us understand why what happened right now is one of the nature of the Maldivian political history only. So Maldives got its independence from the British rule in 1965, and when it got its independence, India was in fact the first nation to recognize its independence as a sovereign nation and was among the first nation to establish a diplomatic tie with it. Now, during that time, the first president, President Ibrahim Nasir, was very close ally to India. He used to frequently had deep connections with India, and therefore he had a pro-India stance. He had a pro-India stance. And then comes the very influential President Gayoom's era. He was also pro-India. In fact, he referred to India. He had very regular visitings to India in order to have any aid or advice from India. So he also considered India as one of the closest allies. In fact, when a political coup was held against this president, President Gayoom, he asked multiple countries to help him, to help his government against the insurgent groups who wanted to overthrow his government. He went to Sri Lanka, he went to Pakistan, he went to Russia, he went to USA, he went to UK. All of them did not respond very, very quickly. But then UK advised Maldives to go to India because India had the reputation of being the net security provider. And henceforth, when Maldives went to India, India became very active and was the first responder against this political coup led by Abdullah Lutufi. Because India was the first responder, India launched Operation Cactus in 1988, where it led its troop in the island nation the troops supported by the air forces, the naval forces. They finally led to the neutralization of the insurgent group in the capital city of Malé, henceforth effectively helping the President Gayoom. Not only it helped with the political insurgency, but it also helped with any disaster emergency, especially that came in the year 2004 in the form of Indian tsunami. So again, India was the first to provide aid and supplies and humanitarian support to the island nation of Maldives. So again, during the regime of Gayoom, India was applauded of its effort worldwide, and India became a hero for the Maldives. Followed up by the next regime of President Nasheed. Here again, he took the pro-India stance. Why? Because he understood that India has been a good brother, has been a good friend to Maldives. So again, during his regime, the ties between India and Maldives again grew closer. Indian support also enhanced in the form of having lenting boats or aircrafts or any other naval ships or any other equipments that Maldives needed from it. But this eventually led to some of the groups consider this as the over-dependence of Maldives and over-influence, over-encroachment of India on the political affairs of Maldives. So therefore, a particular group started protesting against India's over-participation. So now comes the Yamin's era, President Yamin's era from 2013 to 2018. Now President Yamin will understand that he doesn't want over influence of India or over dependence on India. So he will have a counter check with the help of pro-China policy. He will immediately conclude a free trade agreement with China, which will lead China to develop many infrastructural projects over there. Also took help of line of credit from China, and he was the first. He is very significant from this topic point of view because he was the first who launched the India Out campaign, where he threatened the Indian troop for the first time to withdraw from the island nation. Then comes the Operation Near, another chance for India to become a hero for Maldives. So what happened in the year of 2014? That the only water treatment plant, because see, in the Maldives there is no rivers as such, there's only sea water. It needs desalination plant. So the only desalination water treatment plant that was there in Maldives, it collapsed in this year, leading to great water insecurity crisis over there. India was again the first to respond, and therefore India dispatched heavy lifting transporters carrying multiple bottles, as well as some of the naval ships carrying desalination plant for the aid and support of Maldives. So again, India becomes a hero with Operation Neer of 2014. So now comes the regime of Ibrahim Soli. Because Soli realized that India has supported us. Therefore, when Soli comes, he will come with a pro-India regime. So he will establish India First policy. He will invite India for having investment of up to $500 million in the Greater Malay Connectivity Project. And this is for the first time when Indian Prime Minister Modi will address the Maldivian Parliament Majlis. So here we will see the strengthening of the ties. But again, the counter group will come and say that we need to counterbalance India's growing influence in Maldivian politics. So therefore, again, when the shift of polity happens with the coming up of President Mohammad Muizzu in November 2023, we are seeing upheavals in India-Maldive relationship. Why? Because again, he is pro-China, and again, he has started pursuing the India out policy ruthlessly. I've already covered in a news where we have seen the hydrographic pact survey between India and Maldives has been broken, has been discontinued under this presidential regime, and now we are seeing that other multiple remarks has been made by ministers of this regime. We've also seen that now he has asked India to withdraw its troops from Maldives. So here is the current blow that has been made by the shifting political regime from the Maldivian point of view. Now, why are we reading this? Why is the shifting political regime a point of concern for us? Because India and Maldives are very, very important to each other. So what is the significance of the bilateral ties? Why is Maldives important to India? Why is such a small island nation important to us? There are two reasons for it. First of all, the strategic significance of Maldives. First of all is the strategic significance of Maldives for us because of its location, and second, because of our heavy investments that India has done in the island nation of Maldives. So in order to safeguard both of these, Maldives has got great significance for India, and therefore the breaking ties is a cause of concern not just for Maldives but also for India. Let's have a deeper look. What is the strategic significance? First of all, the island nation lies very close proximity to the west coast of India. Also, it lies at the hub of the sea lanes of communication. So in order to safeguard independent and secure sea lanes of communication so that proper and independent trade can happen from there, we have to make sure that the borders of Maldives are safeguarded, especially against the aggressive policy of China. Second, it is also the focal point of India's neighborhood first policy. So henceforth, taking care of Maldives is one among the responsibilities assumed by India only. Next is a defense partnership. India tied up the action plan for defense in 2016 during the regime of Nasir. Now, during this regime, you will see that the action plan of defense will call upon the deploying of troops in the land of Maldives, and this is the first time when the Indian troops will be deployed over here. Then safety and security of the Indian Ocean can be safeguarded by these two very significant powers. One is the island nation of Maldives, second is the very influential political power with huge geographical boundaries. This is the India. So safety and security of the entire region is responsibility of both of them together, not alone. Then they also carry out multiple defense exercises. For example, Ecovirin. Ecovirin has also been asked by UPSC in the CDS examination. So you need to take note of it. Ecovirin, Dosti, Ekat and Operation Shield. All of them are some of the defense security exercises performed between them. Joint exercises. Then we have got huge, deep and historical economic and trade agreements. In fact, the tourism economy of Maldives is largely driven by the tourists coming from India. As you can see from this chart, that in the year 2023 only it was seen that the largest tourists came from the land of India, which accounted to about 11% of the total market share of what tourism gives to Maldivian economy. So the first thing is that we have got large sources of visitors that are given to Maldives. Second, India is the second largest trade partner for Maldives. We generally import scrap material from them, but what we provide them instead is industrialized, manufactured, highly equipped products. So therefore, India asset is also very, very important for Maldives economy point of view. We have got a total trade of whooping $300 million. Then we have also got some socio-economic developmental stakes with Maldives because we have laid down multiple projects over there. First is regarding infrastructure, where we have taken the responsibility of developing the Greater Malay Connectivity Project. Second, The Hanimadu International Airport is also taken up under lease by India. Then some of the health measures, health infrastructure like setting up of Indira Gandhi Memorial Hospital providing state-of-art cancer services to Maldives. Then training to defense forces, training for the teacher, training for the youth. All of this socio-economic development is also pursued. These efforts are also pursued by India. So India definitely has got a huge stake on the soil of Maldives. So, what can be the way forward to improve our relationships? The way forward is first of all to change the perception of Maldives. Because in diplomacy, perception matters a lot. Not in our personal lives, maybe, but in diplomacy, it matters a lot. And therefore, in order to change the perception, what we can do, first of all, is to have a first-hand diplomatic dialogues with our constructive and regular diplomatic dialogues between the consulates, between the ministers. Then strengthening the regional alliances with Maldives by providing them infrastructural services, healthcare and socio-economic development, even if Maldives is being aggressive towards us. This will improve our perception as a country, as a net security provider in the Indian Ocean region. Then to have political engagement with the local people so that we can counter the narrative that has been given to them. Because not everybody thinks that India is not good for them. Many in fact feel that India is a very good ally. But it is because of the influence of this political regime. People might go into another narrative. Then we should provide unwavering support for capacity building programs to a small nation like Maldives, no matter how our political relations are going with them. So this is also in line with the Gujarat Doctrine. And this is what India needs to do to improve its perception first of all, not just in the eyes of Maldives, but also in the eyes of world. Second, comprehensive Indian Ocean strategy, security strategy to counter China, because China is the main bone of contention. Whenever our relationship with any of the neighborhood is seen, we've already seen in the case of Bangladesh, and now in the case of Maldives, it can be seen as well. So here what we want to do, we want to maximize the security, we want to still provide humanitarian assistance and disaster relief operations by tying up with other partners like Quad, like I2U2, etc. And then finally, we need to diversify the tourism of India so that all of our tourism doesn't just go to Maldives but also celebrates the areas of India like Lakshadweep Island, like Goa, like coastal districts of Kerala. So this is how we will be able to balance the India-Maldives bilateral relation, not just in the short term but also in the longer run. Now let's read about the second scheme. This is the PM-JANMAN scheme. And why is this in news? Because PM Modi has released 540 crore rupees for the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Gramin for providing Pakka homes to 1 lakh PVTG families as a part of this package. So then what is this package? What is this PM-JANMAN scheme and why is it important for us? Let's have a look. This is important from GS2 point of view, where you have to read about social justice and what are the underlying government policies and interventions regarding the same. Now, to start with PM-JANMAN scheme, what is the elaborated name of JANMAN? It stands for Pradhan Mantri Janjati Adivasi Nyay Maha Abhiyan. So this scheme essentially calls for tribal empowerment, the Antyodaya tribal empowerment, where you will be empowering those tribals who are suffering in the last mile, who are the least developed, who are the most vulnerable. That is the PVTG group, the particularly vulnerable tribal group of India. This was launched by Ministry of Tribal Affairs. But it is not under one particular ministry because this is a multi-ministerial, multi-sectoral, all-encompassing initiative. But this was launched by Prime Minister on 15th of November 2023. Now, why was this date chosen? Because this is the birth anniversary of Birsa Munda. Now, who is Birsa Munda? Birsa Munda, who is also celebratedly known as Dharti Abba, was the leader or the architect of the tribal rebellion in India. The tribal rebellion of Munda tribes. He was leading the Munda tribes and this rebellion took place in the Chota Nagpur plateau in the year 1875. This rebellion is also known as Ulghulan or the Great Tumult. Now, what was the cause and who was this rebellion against? This rebellion was against the Dikus. All of these questions have been asked by UPSC in the PYQ. So please pay attention to it. So who are the Dikus? Dikus were the outsiders or the Britishers who were encroaching upon the tribal land of the Munda people. So therefore, it was against DQs and particularly against the change in the land revenue system. So initially, they used to have community forest reserves. They used to have community ownership. And now it was replaced by, say, permanent settlement or by commercial farming. So a change in the land revenue system causing encroachment, causing a forced conversion by the Christian missionaries, all of this enraged the Munda community led by Birsa Munda, and this led to the Great Tumult or the Ulgulan in 1875. So first of all, in order to commemorate his birth, Birsa Munda, therefore it was launched on 15th of November. Now, the idea and the objective of PM-JANMAN scheme is to improve the human development indicators of the PVTG group. Now, who are the PVTG groups? We'll understand in the next slide. But let's first understand the overall interventions that will be made. So you know that in order to improve somebody's quality of life, there's not only one scheme that needs to be there. There needs to be multi-sectoral intervention. Intervention in where he is living, what he is eating, what he is drinking, whether he is having light or not, connectivity, infrastructure, road, etc. In order to safeguard all of this, what this particular scheme does, it takes up 11 critical intervention sectors overseen by 9 ministries, targeting up to 27 lakh PVTGs. About 27 lakh PVTGs have been identified by the census 2011. So we have been targeting all of them residing in 18 states and union territories of India. This is going to be a centrally sponsored scheme, but largely the multiple schemes that are covered under it are either centrally sponsored or central sector. We cannot really name this particular scheme as centrally sectored or sponsored, but what we need to know is what are the schemes encompassing it. For housing, there is Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, which is converged. It is converged with Jal Jeevan Mission to provide tapped or piped water supply to the households, then to have solar meters, to have solar connections for round the clock electricity supply. So there will be revamped distribution sector scheme, there will be Janman Vikas, creating multi-purpose centers, then Universal Service Obligation Fund for providing Digital India initiatives, then there will be Sadak Yojana, there is something related to Janjatiya Vikas for providing them skill training, etc. Then Samagra Shiksha Abhiyan, then Anganwadi Services, National Health Mission. All of these 11 sectoral schemes are converged together in one scheme named as Pradhan Mantri Janman Yojana, targeting all of them to serve whom? To serve the PVTG group of India. So then what are the PVTG groups? So particularly vulnerable tribal groups. Now as you know that India will be having more than 1,000 of tribes. Now those tribes which are defined under Article 342 of the Indian Constitution, they are declared as the scheduled tribe. Now within these tribes, those tribes which are having most primitive characteristics, which are having the most backwardness or the most vulnerability, they are characterized by the government as the PVTG group of India. So the PVTG group, we have total 75 PVTG tribes in India which are in dire need of development, and they are located in 18 states and only one union territory. Which union territory is this? This is Andaman and Nicobar Island. Now, this idea of PVTG was for the first promoted by the Debar Commission in 1973, where he said that there should be a separate group within the scheduled tribes. There should be the primitive tribal groups, the PTG group, which are characterized by their declining or stagnant population, the use of primitive technology of agriculture, their economic backwardness, and their low literacy. As I've already told you, the characteristics is their very, very low HDI. Very, very low HDI. How do you define HDI? HDI defined by 3 characteristics. What is their health? What is their health parameter? What is their literacy parameter? And what is their standard of living? And people who are in the bottom of the rung of HDI are the most vulnerable groups. Now, this is, first of all, the low HDI is one of the criteria, and second is their remoteness, their geographical isolation from the mainstream. Therefore, they are not that much integrated into India, and they also feel isolated. Therefore, a lot of developmental initiative doesn't reach it. Therefore, for particularly vulnerable tribal groups, what we need is particularly dedicated government or developmental schemes. Now, It was the word PVTG was for the first time recognized by the government in the year 1975, and in 2006 it was renamed, the PTGs was renamed as PVTGs. Now, why are they vulnerable? They are vulnerable because why government named it as PVTG, why vulnerable word was added, because they realized that not only they are low in the HDI indicator, but also because of their remoteness and inaccessibility, which makes them having poor infrastructure and very weak administrative support, which further degrades their HDI. Therefore, they were more vulnerable as compared to other parts of the nation. So there are 75 PVTJ communities, as I've already told you. And what is the distribution? It is found not in all the states but only in the 18 states. Which state has the largest population of PVTG? This is Odisha. Please remember, the largest number of tribal population is in Madhya Pradesh, but the largest number of PVTG community is in Odisha. And which is the tribe which is the largest PVTG tribe in India? So this is the Saura tribe from Odisha. This is the largest PVTG tribe of India. Now, what is the criteria used by government to identify a particular tribe as PVTG? Because you know that only 75 of them are there. What is the criteria? They are first of all their backwardness, then their primitive practices, and their geographical isolation. So, in particular, there are 4 criteria: their pre-agricultural level of technology, their low level of literacy, their very economic backwardness, and declining or stagnant population. This is an important point you should remember. Now, why we have read all of this is because UPSC in its prelims examination has asked a very detailed question about the PVTG tribe, because these are very important. And in this year also it can appear. So I would recommend you to go through this map in detail and have a good look through the multiple tribes belonging to different states. So with the help of this given information, let's now try to solve the PYQ that has been asked in the year 2018. The first statement of this question is that PVTGs reside in 18 states and in 1 union territory. You know which union territory is this? This is Andaman and Nicobar. Only 1 union territory of India. So this statement is absolutely correct. Looking into the second statement, I also find it right because this is one among the criteria that we have just read. Then there are 95 PVTGs officially notified in the country so far. Are they 95? No. They are 75. So this statement is incorrect. Then Irular and Konda Reddy tribes are included in the list of PVTG. Therefore, I have asked you to have a good look on the number of or the names of the PVTG. So this statement is also correct. Here the correct answer therefore is 1, 3 and 4. 1, 2 and 4. Third is the incorrect statement. Now moving on to the third topic. Here is where the Delhi air quality has turned severe, prompting the Graded Response Action Plan phased third. So what is Graded Response Action Plan, and what determines and what measures the air quality of India, and which body is responsible for implementing the GRAP? We'll have a look. So first of all, why is the air quality in Delhi degrading? Naturally because the temperature is going down. Because the temperature goes down, the wind turbulence, the wind velocity goes down. Therefore, and also because of the burning of stubbles across the Delhi NCR region, across the multiple states like UP, Haryana, mostly coming from Haryana, Punjab, because of the stubble burning, because of the wind, because of the dryness in the air. All of this contributes in the stagnation of the air, and a stagnant air is hugely polluted because Delhi is mostly industrialized. So now let's understand what is a Graded Response Action Plan. So this is basically a responsive measures by the government against any kind of grade of air pollution. So the entire air quality of the Delhi NCR region is graded into multiple types of categories depending upon the quality of the air. And when you see the degrading quality of the air, you will kick in some set of emergency measures. And these emergency measures will change with respect to the grade of the pollution. So therefore, this is known as Graded Response Action Plan. This was a kind of judicial activism because these measures were for the first time notified by Supreme Court upon the MC Mehta versus Union of India case of 2016. And ever since from 2017, it got into effect in the Delhi NCR region. Not only in the Delhi NCR but also in the surrounding areas of Rajasthan, of UP, of your Haryana, Punjab, etc. Now, who causes the implementation of the Graded Response Action Plan? So see, first of all, you need to change your response with the changing air quality, because with changing air quality there will be different impacts on the health of the person. So for example, for good, satisfactory to moderate grade, there will be little discomfort, minor to little discomfort in breathing. But when the air quality turns into poor, it causes breathing discomfort upon the prolonged exposure to most of the people. When it turns very poor, it causes respiratory illness, for example asthma in people. Then when it turns severe, it affects healthy people and seriously impact those with existing disease, even causing their death. So in this case, we are seeing that severe has been hit. Severe grade has been hit in the air quality. How do you measure this? By calculating the air, or by looking into the air quality index. So this air quality index is taken into account in order to enforce the GRAP by, who's the implementation agency to enforce GRAP? This is the Commission for Air Quality Management, which has replaced the 22-year-old body EPCA. Upon replacing EPCA, which also came from the judicial activism only, from one of the guidelines of Supreme Court, it replaced it. It's a statutory body now, and it is responsible for implementing the air quality management measures in the Delhi NCR region. It takes into account the NAQI, the air quality and the meteorological forecasts by two bodies. One is the Indian Institute of Tropical Meteorology and the Indian Meteorological Department, IMD. Then what does it take into account? It takes into account the air quality index, the National Air Quality Index, which was first of all formulated, or which was first created in 2014. This is under one number, one color, one description. So multiple grades are coded according to colors accordingly, and then similar response action is given for them. Then it includes how many determinants it has. It has 8 pollutants. How to remember these 8 pollutants? So first of all, you will be having 2 particulate matters, 2.2 and 2.5. You will be having 3 oxides, the nitrogen oxides, the sulfur dioxide and the carbon monoxide. And then you will have lead, and then you will have ammonia. These are the 8 pollutants measured by National Air Quality Index. But when I'm telling you that the severe index or the severe has been hit because of the score of 444 in the Delhi NCR region, how do you calculate the score? How do you calculate whether it is severe or not? So what is the working of GRAP? Let's understand that very, very quickly. So as you can see from the air quality index, the moment it hits more than 400, it enters into the severe category. How do you know that this is entering a 400? Because of the multiple pollutants that you are taking. So first of all, you take into the concentration of pollutant. Say for example, I have PM10 and PM2.2, 2.5. So I'll be taking into concentration of both of them. But I know that both of them are not equally harmful to a human. Which is more harmful? PM2.5. So let's say the harmful index, the harm causing index of PM2.5 is more. Let's say it is 5. And let's say concentration or the harmful impact of 10 is, let's say, 2. So that would mean that for the equal concentration of both, I will have different final metrics. So which means that PM2.5 is the major pollutant in the list right now. In the list of 8, PM2.5 is the major pollutant. So the final score of the major pollutant is the final score of the AQI. So when I'm saying it is 444, it means that this is the amount of concentration and the harmful coefficient, multiplication of both, the product of that, of the PM2.5, of the most harmful pollutant. Now, in accordance to that, I will categorize my graded response action plan. So for example, if the particulate matter concentration is less than 120, then measures like immediate suspension of the causative agents, for example fire cracking, or for example stubble burning, all of them will be put on halt on immediate basis. That will be the graded response action plan for the first one, that is for moderate to poor category. But what if it is severe? For the severe ones, there will be increased frequency of cleaning measures. For example, mechanized sweeping of the road, sprinkling of water to dam down the dust. Dust is the main causation factor of PM2.5. Then closing the brick kilns, hot mix plant, stone crushers, shutting down of power plants, etc. And introduce concessional rates for the people so that they can take up public transports, for example metro, buses, etc. So this is what they are going to do in the severe one. You can also have a look into this detailed graded response action plan from the handout that is available to you in the description box. So kindly have a look on that. Now coming to the fourth topic, this is the quantum computing. This has been covered in great detail in the text and context section of the Hindu. So we'll try to understand the basics of quantum computing. Now, what are the basics given in this particular editorial? First of all, they are talking about the basics of computing. Computing is basically a digital circuit. Digital circuit understands its own language, and this language is known as bits. So first of all, any digital circuit is driven by electricity. If you are providing electricity to it, or if a signal is provided to it, it counts it as 1. If you do not provide it, or if you halt for a minute, then if you halt the power supply or the electric signal, then it counts it as a 0. So our computer understands only these two codes, 1 and 0, and both of them together make bits. These are known as bits. So a digital circuit understands bits. So now you understand what is a bit. It is the smallest unit of information that is understood by a digital circuit, which basically is the main component of a computer. Now, what if I want to modify this information given? What if I want to have some modifications made on my information? What if I want my computer to do that for me? So computer itself should be given some components. These components are known as gates. So gates are responsible for modifying the bits. So for example, I am giving 2 input. I am saying that what is 5 into 2? And I am asking it to modify. I am asking it to multiply it. I am asking it to multiply. Then when it will be subjected to gates which are made up of transistors. It looks something like this. It can have multiple inputs, but it can have only a single output. And a number of numerous thousands of million of gates would make a one single digital circuit. So these gates, say for example, I am giving input of 0 and 1, and this is an AND gate. Then the output would be 0. If this is a NOR gate and I am giving an input of 1, this is a NOR gate, then the output would be 0. Similarly, the gates modify accordingly. So the gates would modify my 5 into 2 into 10. Why? Because it is able to modify, it is able to take up some Boolean function or some algorithm. It is able to process some algorithm within itself. So this is the significance of gates. So gates are the one responsible for performing functions or calculations in a computer. I hope this is clear. Now let's come to quantum computing basics. So in the quantum computing, first of all, this is a kind of computational system or digital circuit which takes the principles, or which works on the principle of quantum mechanics. Quantum mechanics, which talks about the interaction between the subatomic particles. So not just the flow of electrons, not just the flow of electricity, but what goes on within an electron, that is also taken into account in a quantum mechanics. Now quantum mechanics is driven by qubit. So qubits is basic unit in the quantum computing. So qubits are the alignment in the state. They are not necessarily 1 or 0. They are alignment in state. And how many possibilities? See, in the case of a conventional computer, what is the highest possibility? A state can either be 1 or it can be in the state of 0. But in the case of quantum computing, the state of the system can either be 1, can either be 0, or can be 1 or 0 together. This is the beauty of quantum computing. Therefore, it is able to carry out huge tasks at a very, very high speed, splendid speed. This is why we call it quantum supremacy. Now, what are the different principles that work behind quantum computing? You need to understand two very, very clearly. First is the principle of superposition, which allows the system to exist in multiple states. The system can now exist in 1, in 0, in 1 and 0, all at the same time. This is the principle of superposition. For example, if I toss a coin, either the outcome would be head or it would be tail. But what if I see the coin when it is spinning in the air, and that time it is both head, it is both tail, and it is both head and tail? That is known as the principle of superposition, and it is showcased by quantum mechanics. Next is the principle of entanglement, which means, for example, I have two sisters, Rita and Sita. Rita lives in United States, Sita lives in India. And both of them are entangled pair of quantum mechanics. So the moment the state of Geeta changes, the state of Sita also changes. So if she starts crying, she will also start crying. If she becomes happy, she'll also become happy. This is a very, very vague example, a very simplified example for you to understand, but this is how a pair in the quantum computing works. So the behavior of one member of a pair will determine the behavior of the other, no matter how geographically distant they are. So on the basis of superposition and entanglement, the quantum computing derives its supremacy powers. Now, what are quantum gates? Just like for digital gates, the gates or the circuits which are responsible for manipulating or modifying the inputs of the qubit are known as the quantum gate. So they manipulate the qubit, and two very, very important examples given by this section, which I also need you to take notes of because they can be asked in UPSC, are the Hadamard gate. Hadamard generates superposition in a single qubit, only one state. It generates superposition in one state. Controlled NOT gate acts on two qubit. So flipping the target qubit based on the control's qubit state. So here there will be two qubits who are entangled to each other. One is the control, say for example the CPU, and second is the target qubit, for example any input given by the taken by the monitor. So both of them will be identifying each other. This is a control NOT gate. So these two gates are one of the quantum gates which are frequently in use because of the thorough application. Now, what are the challenges and opportunities in quantum computing as covered by this section? So they have first of all talked about the fragility of the superposition, because they are so fragile, they can also alter themselves when they are subjected to a different temperature or when they are given a little amount of dust. They cannot bear any kind of that. So therefore they need complete vacuum situation, almost ideal situation to work. Otherwise the results will not be ideal or they will not be reliable. So the first challenge with quantum computing is their fragility. Second, we need active research for the solution because the research is still underway and it is not that much developed yet. Then this editorial also talks about the Moore's law of computation, which says that in every 5 years, the computational capacity will drastically increase. This has not been seen in the recent times, but with the upcoming fourth industrial revolution, with the upcoming artificial intelligence and with the quantum computing, we can actually see that the quantum computing will enhance the computational speed to up to 100 times more than the conventional computers. So it has got multiple challenges but also multiple applications. Potential applications include safe drug designs and safe communications, etc. Well, there are so many more. We'll be covering more of that when we'll cover it from the mains point of view. So for prelims point of view and for making you understand this text and context section, this was all we had to read. Now the last topic is World Economic Forum. Now students, this is very important because multiple reports of World Economic Forum have been asked by UPSC in the prelims examination. So this body is very, very important for its initiative. You should also know who has given the Global Reset Initiative and what is this initiative all about, and what are the different reports from World Economic Forum. So what is the context, by the way, is that the 54th annual meeting of World Economic Forum is going to be held in Davos, Switzerland, and India is also going to attend it. As you can see that multiple ministers are going to represent India in the Davos meeting. So is this a governmental organization, intergovernmental organization? No. It is a pure non-governmental organization. It's rather a campaigning group in order to support this objective, which we are going to read. What is the objective? To improve the nature of the planet. See, it is, though the name is Economic Forum, but it deals with multiple things. It talks about the entire planet by interacting with businesses, multiple stakeholders, businesses, diplomats, educational and other figureheads of the societal structure to impact not just the economy of the world, unlike World Bank and IMF, but to impact the earth, the geography and the business agendas. This is the objective, and in order to campaign for that, it brings multiple stakeholders together in Davos, Switzerland, and that is where an annual meeting is held, and they also have deliberations on multiple reports that they publish. By the way, it is not headquartered in Davos. It is headquartered in Cologne, Geneva, Switzerland. This is very important fact. Who was the founder? Klaus Schwab was the founder, who was a German scientist and a scholar who started it as a company in 1971. It was formerly back then known as European Managing Forum because he was only concerned with the European region, but then the objective expanded to global, and therefore now the name becomes World Economic Forum since or from 1987. Then who supports it financially? It is financially supported by about 1000 member firms and states. So it has got both state and non-state or business funding. This also you need to remember. Now coming to the most important topic, what are the reports of World Economic Forum? How to remember these multiple reports? I have got one trick for you. First and foremost, that for most of them, and in fact for all of them, the first word is global. So that is the first identification factor. Second, it is going to talk about multiple things. It's not just going to concern itself with economy only, but with competitiveness, but with IT, gender gap, energy, risk, travel and tourism. So it has got a diverse spectrum. So here the name is Global Competitive Report, IT Report, Gender Gap Report, Energy Transition Risk Report and Travel and Tourism Report. I think you should make some effort to by heart this because this is going to give you good dividends if it comes in the examination. So this is all about today's discussion. I hope you have liked it. Thank you so much. Do solve the MCQs given in the end and have a nice day.